Kids go back in a small group to work. You know, if you've ever sit at home with the TV, you know that whoever has the remote control is the most engaged. The rest of them are just watching and hoping to have more control. So it's not really a really empowering position to be in, to be watching somebody else control the keyboard and the mouse. And then we do have a one-to-one scenario in our labs, and our labs may be, you know, although they're not popular everywhere, they may be the place where every kid gets to express themselves, to work, to create projects, to work in different collaborative groups sometimes. But here's one-to-one, but the problem with this one-to-one approach is that it's very limited. Only so many kids can get in here, only so many teachers can get into that lab. So if we agree on the premise that if we keep these three models in place, we're going to keep getting the same results that we've done up to now. And we're not going to be producing kids that show initiative, flexibility, adaptability, collaboration, cooperation, all those things. Kids that aren't engaged. And by the way, what are the results of that? We have a 30% dropout rate for students in the country. We also have a 50% dropout rate for teachers. That's the one that, for new teachers within the first 5 years, 50% of teachers leave the profession. So when you see that many teachers and that many students dropping out of the system early on like this, you know that something's not working well. And I really believe that's because both teachers and students feel disempowered under the old model. So we want these goals. We have these strategies, and we can pretty much agree with those dropout rates that we're not really hitting the strategies aren't achieving the goals we'd like. So what about one-to-one computing? This is Niagara Wheatfield Central Schools. I worked with Niagara Wheatfield. I put together a pilot with the high school and the 5th grade class. And the 5th grade class got netbooks, and the high school took a set of laptops that was going to be thrown out from a laptop cart. And we used cloud computing, which we'll talk about in a minute, and virtualization to be able to bring those back to life. And during the pilot, the kids switched halfway through so that the elementary kids got the old laptops and the high school kids got the new netbooks. And just a couple more examples. This is Deer Park, Long Island. This is a 2nd grade class, and they all got netbooks. And that's their NiceGate bags. As you know, I'm a member of NiceGate and also former president. And the kids were carrying their netbooks back and forth to school in manila envelopes. So we had some extra bags and we made sure they got them. Also, here is Shore and Wading River High School, and these are netbooks in a physics class with high school students. So I know what's going through your head. Yeah, that's all great. I'd love to be able to do that, Pete, but, you know, it's a nice dream. But how do we actually get there? And so I'm going to spend a lot of time in the rest of the presentation on some possibilities. And there are many ways to get there, but I believe we're at a watershed moment in ed tech right now where this is possible for you within your present budget or with a slightly increased budget. So here's what you're saying. My budget can barely keep up with what I have. There's no way we could ever buy one computer for every student. Or even if you had the money, my technical staff can barely manage the computers we have in place today, and they're stationary. So I'm going to have to double or triple my staff if I double or triple the number of computers I have. So we need some new paradigms, because if we tried to do this under the old paradigms, you're right, you would have to increase your staff enormously to manage. If you had 1,000 computers and you increased that to 3,000, obviously all these computers with hard drives moving around, going home and moving around the school all day long would be a tremendous impact on you in terms of your staff. But there is cloud computing, and I'm not going to get into technical definitions of cloud computing, but we've been doing it for a long time. It's really, in the simplest terms, using software that's available from the internet, so that you can use a browser to get to your software. So great examples of that might be if you've used NetTrekker or eChalk. There are gizmos from Explore Learning. There are many, many, many products out there, Google Docs, etc. I think I have that on my next slide, that you can access from the cloud. And there are a lot of benefits from accessing from the cloud. Number one, You don't have to have the server on your site. You don't have to have the maintenance of that server, the backups, and all of the work that comes with the servers. You can also access it from any kind of machine. It can be, as long as it has a browser, so it could be a Mac or a PC, or it doesn't really matter what kind of machine type you have. And third, what's beautiful about the cloud is that it's accessible from anywhere. So if I have a piece of software, let's say it's Inspiration, and Inspiration's loaded on my hard drive, and I go home, I really can't get to it as a student, as a teacher. But if I have something out in the cloud that does visual organizing, and I can then access it from just about any place. So I can use it at home 24/7, 7 days a week. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Basically, with this private cloud, you take your applications that are sitting on hard drives today, and you put them on a server. And there are a number of ways to do that. I'm not going to get too technical, but basically the concept is you'll take your Inspiration, cross-section of every technology since the 1980s in it, So I was just in a school yesterday that had Dell GX 110s or something like that, and 12-year-old computers, and they didn't have the money. They bought them all in a bond issue. They didn't have the money to buy new computers, so they're using the cloud and virtualization to actually now extend the life.
10 years. So I'm going to give you a quick overview. Rick told me to keep this to 30 minutes, so I'll try to end promptly at 2:30. We started a couple minutes late, but I'll still try to end and leave a little bit of time for questions. So I understand you guys are all tech coordinators. Do any of you already have Vernier Probeware at your school?
Yes, got some old stuff.
Science subject area. And the whole point of it is to get science in the kids' hands. So rather than having them do activities where they're verifying principles, we actually want to get them doing labs where they're experimenting, doing things on their own, kind of experiencing science as a verb instead of learning about it as a noun. So we can take this little unit out in the field and collect data on a field trip outside the classroom, in the hallway, in the gymnasium, wherever we like. We can also connect it to a computer via either a Mac or Logger Pro software for computers now. And then
to use it to just store all your information that they can go to in the evenings. They can upload their assignments back to you.
I don't know about you, but
I sit down, meet with the administration and your local BOCES. So when I went to SIO, Rick was there with us. When we went to Lake Shore, someone from Erie 2 was there with us, and so whoever the local BOCES individual model school staff would be there.